Hi, my name is Vanessa Vallely and welcome to One Tech World. In this inspiring session, we bring together two trailblazing women from the US banking tech sector to share their career journeys, their challenges, and their pivotal moments that shaped their paths. From breaking barriers in male-dominated fields to leading groundbreaking innovations, these women offer a unique perspective on navigating the tech industry. Our conversation will explore themes such as remaining curious, skills development, leadership, and fostering diversity in tech even. I'm delighted to welcome Jennifer Joseph and Marina Goodman, who are both from our supporters Northern Trust. Hi and welcome.
Hi, thank
Hello.
you.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
That's fine. Let's get going. Let's find out a little bit about you first. So, Marina, I'm going to start with you. Just give me a little bit of history. Where did kind of life begin? How did you get into tech and what you're up to now?
Sure. So I'm the practice chief admin officer for wealth management technology at Northern Trust. I've
Yeah.
been at Northern Trust for 5 years. I drive our strategic planning. I partner with our directors to build out our workforce strategy. I manage our executive communications, and I manage our financials. Jennifer and I also co-lead the Women in Technology group at North America at Northern Trust. So my background is in computer engineering. Prior to Northern Trust, I've been primarily in delivery side. So I've led teams to build complex solutions at many Fortune 500 companies. I started my career at Accenture in the high-tech architecture group, and then I've held leadership roles at JP Morgan, at Capital One, Discover, AbbVie, at Northern Trust.
Fantastic. What a career history. All those companies as well. So what about yourself, Jennifer? Tell me a little bit about you.
Sure. As a quick introduction, I'm a technology leader with over 25 years experience. I'm really focused on like high impact strategic initiatives. I did start off my career as a developer, same as Marina, in application development, and I've had just various roles in tech leadership. Currently, I'm head of the Office of the CIO Department for Northern Trust Asset Management Technology, and I really focus. Honestly, it covers everything. Anything to help a tech-driven organization to be successful. So strategy, execution, employee development, cultural transformation. I also lead our agile development area. So I'm very passionate about agile, and as a co-leader for women in tech, that's definitely a highlight of my last couple of years with Northern Trust.
Fantastic. I love it that you're both giving back, using that experience and kind of, nurturing future talent through women in tech. So let's get started around what inspired you to pursue a career in tech? And more importantly, what has kept you in the tech industry? I'm going to come to Marina first.
Well, for me, it was an easy choice. My father, my mother, my brother, my sister-in-law, they were all engineers. I like math, and when I was 15 years old, my brother got an Atari computer, and I learned to program in a language called BASIC. So going into computer science was kind of a normal path that aligned really well with my interest in programming. And also, we didn't have a lot of money, so getting a degree in something that would, lead me to get a good job was really important.
Yeah.
So I stayed in technology though, because of how interesting the work is and the kind of lifestyle it allows me to have. So after graduating in computer science, in engineering, I spent my first 11 years as a consultant at Accenture in an architecture group. And we focused on using leading edge technologies to build business solutions for companies. And our group was called the New Age Systems Group. And I held many roles. I was a developer, I was a database administrator, I was an application architect, data architect, and I also managed many development teams in Fortune 500 companies. So it was always nonstop learning. Every single client was different, the solutions were complex, and the teamwork was absolutely amazing. And there was this one time when I was sent on a project to a company called Qualcomm in San Diego. And they just released the first smartphone that was called PDQ, and it used the Palm operating system. So this was like in the late 90s, before iPhones,
I
before
remember.
Android phones. But here's the deal. Qualcomm could not get that phone to the market because at that time, our cell phone providers in United States, like AT&T and Sprint, refused to put it in stores because it was so much more complex than the flip phones that we had. And so I joined a strategy team to help Qualcomm figure out how to get this first in the market product to the market. And my job was to figure out the technology solutions that would be needed to be built to sell the phone directly to the consumer instead of through these cell phone providers. And so, that was just kind of the beginning, because now we all have cell phones. We figured out for Qualcomm how to do it, but that was just the beginning of that whole smartphone revolution. And this is just one of many examples. Like throughout my whole technology career, I've seen technology evolve nonstop. And I've been really fortunate to be at the forefront of those changes. So, how fun is that? And it does allow me to have a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's really important. If you do something you're passionate about and it enables you to have that lifestyle, why not? And I say to see those, if you think of all since like in the 1990s, you see how much technology has evolved and how much it's enabled as well. So yeah, I remember Palm, though I remember those. I'm showing my age
Cool.
now.
It's been an incredible journey.
Absolutely. Jennifer, what about you?
Well, similar to Marina, I've always been passionate about technology problem solving. I even like algebra. And my father worked on some of the first computers in the United States almost 70 years ago. So I was definitely inspired by his work. And I knew in grade school when I was young that this is what I wanted to do. I never had a plan B. I never had an alternative. So I've stayed in tech though because love seeing the difference it makes. It really has transformed people's lives. And it's kind of funny that Marina and I both worked on early versions of smartphones. I was at IBM and I created an app that shared your computer calendar with your flip phone. I even came up with a catchphrase, which, seemed groundbreaking at that time, your calendar in the palm of your hand. And so it's kind of funny now. I mean, because look how far we've come. We now have it on our wrist, right? So we have our calendar on our wrist. So technology is constantly changing, evolving, and with AI, it kind of feels like it's changing at light speed.
Yeah.
But with all of these advances, it just really keeps me interested and always curious to learn and grow. So that's why I love it so much.
Absolutely, but obviously both clearly passionate about it. So skills development, when we look into the future, what does that look like? In particular, like leadership skills, what do you think are most crucial for women in tech, both now and potentially in the future?
Before jumping into leadership skills, I do want to say I would recommend making sure you first have very deep technical expertise.
Yeah.
Take the time to get that hands-on full stack engineering experience, working on complex applications, acquire database experience, application, knowledge, and also that cloud computing skills right now are critical. Today, like in my company, there's still many senior leaders who do not have a technology background. However, in the last 10 years, this has changed in large corporations. Today, in many large corporations, it's a must for senior technology leaders to have deep technical expertise, even current coding skills. And I do think that trend is absolutely going to continue. But going back to the leadership skills. So I think being an effective influencer, building a great network, and understanding your company's business and financials is going to differentiate you. So starting kind of with influence, first of all, I recommend taking a personality test like DISC or Myers-Briggs if you don't know yet.
Yeah.
Because you won't just get the insights into your own strength and your work styles, but more importantly, you will know how to work and influence people that have a different work style than you. So, for example, in a DIS assessment, I'm being assessed as somebody who's a driver, gets things done. My boss, however, is somebody who's considered steady, who is really data driven and really wants to make sure that everyone is heard and everyone is aligned. So when I need for him to make a decision about something I'm recommending, I am very comfortable having little information, making decisions on behalf of others, but he is not. So if I want to influence him and he's data driven, I need to give him more information. I need to make sure he knows that I've reached out to the team and everyone is aligned on a direction. And so for me, it may feel like it slows things down, but if I really want to influence him, I do need to adapt to his style. And ultimately, I do believe that, in an environment, in a company, when people have different work styles, it leads to a better outcome for companies. Additionally, regarding influence, this is one area where I think unconscious bias towards women really exists. And sadly, by both men and women. A long time ago, I was in a calibration session, and somebody kind of said about Jane, and I'm not using her real name, but they said, Jane comes off as aggressive and arrogant when she talks to team members. But when I asked for real examples, it seemed like more like Jane was just direct in her requests and her communication. And so I said, okay, tell me this. So if John did the same thing, would you call him arrogant and aggressive? And I remember there was silence. And then the assessment of Jane really changed from that point on. And so I ask you, kind of be aware of your own unconscious biases, but more importantly, when you're at the table, really help other women. Regarding networking, just make time for it. My husband always tells my daughter, work smart, not hard. But by building a good network, you'll have far more opportunities than you would just by working hard. So be intentional about it. Go to conferences, meet up with colleagues in other areas of your company, offer advice to your peers, set up meetings with one-on-ones with senior leaders. Like, you'd be surprised how much they want to hear from junior team members. Yeah. Offer to run hackathons. Offer to be part of some employee community group like Women in Technology. And it's funny, my daughter is now 18 years old and she's a senior in high school in the United States. And she already has a LinkedIn profile. And last summer, she took a cybersecurity course through MIT. And in one of her kind of sessions, they had a woman who was a senior leader from NASA, which is in the United States, our space program. And my daughter said she gave this phenomenal presentation. So I advised my daughter to go and send her LinkedIn invitation, tell her how good the presentation was, how much she enjoyed it, and what she learned from it. It's that easy. And now she has a connection in NASA, if in the future that's the place she wants to go. And finally, understand your company's business and finance. I'm going to ask you this. How many people that are in technology at your company understand business, understand is made, understand your competitors, understands the balance sheet? And I bet you it's not a lot. So it will absolutely differentiate you.
Yeah, such great tips there, Marina. I was the same with my daughter, actually. I actually started her at 15. She connected. She's like, was one of the most well-connected kids at 15. I was like, go to all of mummy's friends and connect with them. But both my kids use LinkedIn, and you're right. Reach out. What's the worst thing that can happen, right? People don't connect with you.
Exactly.
Such good advice there. Thank you, Marina. I want to talk about leadership lessons. So as leaders in the tech sector, I'm going to ask this to Jennifer. What lessons have you learned about leadership, like as a leader yourself? And how have you fostered more like inclusive teams?
Great question. I would say, one lesson I've learned is that employees come from all sorts of backgrounds, experiences, and that's great. That's actually what we want. And my experience has shown that everyone can make a difference. I truly believe that competency is the only credential that matters. So my first lesson is believe in yourself. And I have an example, a story. I remember vividly attending an external speaker session on economic policy at the start of when I was getting my MBA. And I showed up for the session, and several of my fellow students were wearing suits. And I just showed up in like t-shirts and shorts because, it's university. And they stood up and they introduced themselves and they asked all these relevant questions. And, I kind of panicked. I thought, what am I doing? I am way over my head. I'm not sure I have a place at this table. And that's the thoughts that was going through my mind. But I did persevere. I hung in there, I did the work, and I came to realize that I had the right, just as much as anyone else, to sit at the table. I was bringing my own unique views and experience. And I'm so happy I didn't hold myself back. At the end of it, I ended up being named a scholar at graduation. And in fact, I was the only female in that small group of scholars at graduation. So I think we are our toughest critics. Believe in yourself, take that leap, and make sure to sit at the table.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, as a leader, we also need to be intentional about being inclusive and making room for everyone. For example, as leaders, we can be mindful about promoting opportunities for speaking engagements or new projects to coworkers who are underrepresented minorities in tech. You can make sure that you're looking out for them. Ideally, we want our teams to represent our diverse customer base. And another way that everyone can foster inclusive teams is encouraging the more quiet team members to speak up. Their voice is important. So you can turn to your right in a meeting and say, hey, Jackie, what did you think about this idea? With a more inclusive approach, the quality of ideas and the quality of the discussion will be much better. And frankly, it's a win for everyone.
Absolutely. And you're right, we do need more diverse voices around the table, right? Diverse products come out of them, diverse processes come out of them that work for everybody. So I couldn't agree more. So working in the tech industry is demanding, right? Again, I'm a veteran of 25 years. I know it, I feel it. And so not so much these days in a different sector, but how do you balance that demanding role when you've got things going on the other side of your life and perhaps passions and things like that? So how do you balance that? Marina, any strategies you can share?
Sure. So for me, it's a little bit different. So I was born in Ukraine and came to United States when I was 10 years old. So in Ukraine, all women worked. So all my friends' mothers worked, and I don't know any other way. So perhaps because of this, all of my close women friends, they also work. They all have demanding jobs. They're marketing directors, they're lawyers, they're optometrists, dentists, business owners, and almost all have 1 to 3 kids, and either now are taking care of, or in the past have had to take care of like aging parents or family members. And all of our kids are actually quite successful and really well adjusted. My husband, he's also a technology director and also has a demanding job, and we balance together. My daughter has been in daycare since she was 3 months old, and we always, work together for drop-offs and pickups. We would drop her off like at 7:30 in the morning, pick her up at 6 o'clock at night, 5 days a week. And in school, she's always been in before care or after care. In the summer, she always went to an all-day camp. And so I personally have never been like in one of those school field trips where you're a chaperone parent or help with a party in school. And I'm very grateful for parents they do because it really helps the teachers. But I just chose to spend time on vacations kind of with my family. And throughout the majority of my career, I've had to work more than 40 hours a week, way more than 40 hours a week. And so because my husband and I both work and have limited time together, right, for free time, we outsource everything that we can. We outsource cleaning of our house, our yard maintenance. And yes, we do save less money, but it gives us more time to enjoy as a family.
Yeah.
So, and also I'm not ever going to have a Martha Stewart type of a home, but our home is good enough. And when we do spend time together, we do spend quality time together. And for me, it's also really important to spend time with my friends, take fun classes that I enjoy. And so, again, outsourcing a lot of things in my life that are more kind of just administrative things or things that are not fun helps me do those things. But regarding kind of balance, again, my two pieces of advice. First, just don't feel guilty about it. A couple of years ago, when my daughter was 16, I actually decided to ask her, I'm like, Ashley, did you ever feel bad that I never chaperoned one of your school field trips? And it's funny because her response was immediate. She's like, no, not at all. And I said, why? And she said, because if you would have went on the school field trip, I would want to play with my friends. And then I would feel guilty that I'm not spending time with you. So it was an aha moment for me. So don't feel guilty. And the second piece of advice is don't leave work if balance gets hard. Balance can be for everyone. You can find your balance, but it's different for everyone. It's also very different in different life stages. But it's so important for women to stay in the workforce. There's so many benefits to it. There's financial independence. There's greater representation of women in the workforce, which helps all of us. There's professional fulfillment, and then it's also being a good role model for your kids. So stay in the workforce.
Absolutely. We need you in the workforce. So many tips again there. Thank you so much. Jennifer, what progress have you seen in terms of gender diversity in the tech space? And what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in United States, about 35% of technology-related jobs are held by women. And surprisingly, it's been about that same level about as 30 years ago. So it actually dipped lower in the early 2000s and it's come back up to that level. The number of women in the United States getting computer science degrees is also pretty low. It peaked at about 40%, but currently it's down to 21%. So only 2 in 10 computer science graduates are women. And this is interesting because women in the United States are becoming college graduates at a much higher rate than men. Unfortunately, as you go up the ladder, the women in tech leadership roles drops even further. It's down to 25% or less. So I'll be honest, that's kind of hard to understand. Study after study has shown that companies with above average diversity in their management teams generate almost 20% more revenue. So having a workforce and a management team that reflects the customer base, it's proven that companies will be more successful and more profitable. So it just makes business sense. So what to do? Well, we haven't really solved it in the past 30 years, as we just heard. But there's some things I think that are bright spots. One, we need to keep encouraging girls in school to pursue STEM degrees and jobs. And there's many wonderful organizations supporting women in tech, like this one, like this conference, and other organizations like Girls Who Code, and they're doing a fabulous job. So we need to continue to support those and encourage those organizations. What can you do as a professional? My advice to you, if you are interested in progressing your career and you want to get maybe to a more senior leadership role, find yourself a sponsor. And, we heard a lot about mentors, but there's a saying, a mentor tells, but a sponsor sells. And I found this to be true.
I love
that. When I've been in meetings and decisions are being made for senior level roles, my experience, the person chosen has somebody who is speaking up and advocating for them. They'll say, oh, Jamie, she's amazing. She's ready for the next level. It's rare to get that promotion to senior management level without a sponsor, with somebody more senior that is speaking up for you. And for women, being a minority in tech, it makes it just, that much more challenging. It's not easy to get a sponsor. They do need to know you. They need to know your work. They need to be willing to vouch for you. But honestly, this is a critical piece of the puzzle that's needed to get more women in senior technology leadership roles?
Absolutely. As I always say, people that can open up doors of opportunity for you when you're not in the room. But to your point, right, but you have to do the work. You have to, because they're putting their integrity on the line for you, right? So, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of sponsors. Sometimes I think women are over-mentored and under-sponsored.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to throw a resource in, there's a great book by a lady called Sylvia Ann Hewlett that talks about that as well. So just one for our listeners to go and find out about. Now, you mentioned earlier on, and obviously I can see by your amazing backgrounds, that you are co-chairs of a Women in Tech group at Northern Trust. How did you approach setting up that group, and why was it so important for you?
Great question. So why? So Jennifer and I are really passionate about empowering and advancing women's careers in technology. We want to build kind of a supportive, inclusive community. And our goal is to create opportunities for skill development and networking, providing kind of resources, connections to help women thrive in their tech careers at Northern Trust. But we knew we couldn't do it alone, right? Especially with our more than full-time regular jobs. And so we created a core team and an extended team to help us organize events throughout the year. So for the core team, we assembled an incredible group of 11 members from different technology departments at Northern Trust, ranging from early career to senior leaders who committed to spending 2 to 4 hours per week. So they each lead a minimum of 2 events per year. So before joining the group, we interviewed them to make sure they shared our passion, right, to empower women on their tech journeys. And we're committed to driving and coming up and also leading events as well. For our core team, we last year would meet once every 2 weeks, and we would discuss activities and events that we finished, learn, what we learned from them, and plan out future events. Now that we have our processes under control, we meet only once a month. And also during our core team meetings, we make sure that every single team member owns leading the agenda. And so this way gives everybody an opportunity kind of to lead a meeting and have some leadership exposure as well. So for the extended team members, we have also an all-star group of 15 members who commit to helping with at least 1 to 2 events per year. And we meet with that group once a month, also in a similar way to talk about activities that we've done and the new ones we're planning to do. But also with this extended team, we spend in every single meeting about 10 minutes on icebreakers just to continue to help to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
And when we initially started, we also created a bunch of foundational tools, right? These were processes for our communications. It was project plan templates to set up an event. It was event invitation templates, our overall team structure that allowed us to share all the documents. And what this has done is really helped us to be much more efficient and effective at planning events. And also after each event, we make sure that we recognize the members who drive those events. And before end of year reviews, we send a thank you to all of our members and to their managers and the higher ups, just to make sure to give visibility of their contributions.
I love that. So Jennifer, what impact do you think all of that has had?
Well, as Marina mentioned, we've been really focused on connecting and empowering women in tech. And so since becoming co-chairs in late 2023, we've had 20 events to date with over 1,400 participants. And these events have focused on developing technical leadership skills, including topics like generative AI, very popular, Terraform DevOps, storytelling skills, so a wide variety. We've also organized networking sessions, volunteering opportunities, and even wellness activities. And honestly, we've had a lot of laughs and fun along the way, which is important.
Yes.
So the feedback has been really good. One partner said, being part of this community that brings value to women in tech has been a highlight of my year. Another said, thank you for your encouragement to be brave. And this feedback really warms our hearts. It helps us to know that these efforts are making a difference. We've actually seen other positive impacts by empowering women in tech, though, in very tangible ways. So, for example, at Northern Trust, we do an employee engagement survey every year, which is great,
Yeah.
and you get feedback. And in one tech group, though, for the past few years, women consistently scored about 10% lower than men in engagement. Happy to say, after this increased focus, this past year, we saw that that gap was completely eliminated. And actually, the women scored higher than the men in
Wow.
engagement. So I'm sure there's other factors that impacted that, but I do truly believe that these efforts that really focused are making a difference in helping women feel supported, developed, and engaged. And as Marina mentioned, I mean, it is a bit of work, but I think it's worth it. It's making a difference. So for this year, we plan to keep going. We're not going to lose steam. We have a mix of sessions focused on leadership, technical skill development, and more opportunities to connect women and build a network. So we also like to have a mix of in-person activities as well as virtual and hybrid, really just providing women opportunities to gain new skills, to lead events, and really just to stand out and shine. So
Yeah.
it's been a great experience, and we're just excited for the year to come.
I love organisations that have kind of dedicated women in tech groups because it is a safe space. It's a place where you can share ideas, frustrations, with your fellow sisterhood. So yeah, I absolutely love that. So to wrap it up, it's been such great. There's so much insight in there between the two of you. But what advice would you give to women starting their careers in tech or thinking about making a transition into tech? So I'm going to start with Marina.
Okay, starting their career. So first, congratulations, because you made the right choice. But regarding advice, I would say, one, be curious. If you're curious, it will always lead you to wanting to learn new skills, to wanting to get to know people through networking, and to try different roles in one or many different companies. Number two, I would say be a self-advocate. It's similar to self-promotion, but it has a more accurate meaning. If you're not comfortable with self-advocating for yourself, practice it. Just practice it, because men do it a lot more often than women. And because of that, they get to be rated higher usually during ratings and promotions, and they tend to get better opportunities at it. So when you do self-promote, just make sure you're focusing on showing the impact you're making to your company, to your group, to your business. And remember, when you do self-advocate, you are going to inspire other women to do the same. And finally, enjoy the ride. A career in technology is going to be challenging, it's going to be interesting, and it's never going to be boring.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Jennifer.
Well, if I could go back, time machine to my early self, just out of university, I would tell myself, build your network. When you're looking to make it to your next role, it's often who you know, not what you know, that gets you there. When I first started working in tech, I thought all I needed to do was work hard, deliver amazing results, and the career progression would just happen. And you should do those things, and it will help. But it really helps to make connections with your fellow tech partners. It provides you more resources when you need advice or to problem solve. And they might also think of you when there's a new opportunity. So you also want to look to have a diverse network, men and women, and you want to make connections with people different from you. These connections are vital to helping women bridge that gap into moving into leadership roles. And then, of course, no surprise, if you don't have a Women in Tech group in your company yet, our advice would be to start one. If you already have one and you're not a part of it yet, join it. You're missing out on a lot. Or look for ways that you can get involved in the leadership team. I can honestly say that my involvement with Women in Tech has been a career highlight for me. It's really fulfilling, lots of fun and rewarding. So I really recommend it. Make the time for it. You deserve it.
Absolutely. And if it's not there, create it. As we've said, bring everyone together and look at the impact that these two wonderful ladies have had within Northern Trust. So thank you so much for talking to me about your careers. So there's so much wisdom there to unpack. I hope everyone else watching has enjoyed it as well. So can we find both of you on LinkedIn if anyone wants to reach out for advice?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've got the names. Connect on LinkedIn if you wish. But thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Would love to connect, and thank you for having us.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.